once more our sister security personnel. We have Afande Commissioner General of Prisons, who is here with us. Afande Abasi, you are so much, that's Afande Biakajaja, you are so much welcome. Dr. Johnson Bakasaija. Then we have Afande Abasi, is represent the IGP, is represented by the Assistant Inspector General Police Ochaya. You are so much welcome, sir. So you are so much welcome. Present also we have the Director General of ESO, Ambassador Joseph. Thank you so much for coming. So it's not about only the UPDF, it's about all the sister security agencies, as well as the community, the population, contributing towards the bigger security. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. The guest of honor, sir, and distinguished guests. Allow me, sir, to observe the existing protocol for fear of mistakes, and of course, to also save time. Sir, my name is Brigadier General Michael Kibuye, and I am the Director of Civil Military Cooperation. Mine is just a simple one. Probably the reason why they made me speak after my seniors, so that everybody remembers what's expected of us. This is to recognize and appreciate the physical attendance of the national launch of Tarehe Sita 2026 by our dear corporate partners and media fraternity. That's what brings me here, sir. So over the years, our corporate partners and media fraternity have stood with us in thick and thin. Notably, the following have been generously contributing to the success of UPDF Tarehe Sita activities. In no particular order, they are the Ministry of Health, Sadolin, Stanbic Bank, Centenary Bank, 1 Million Trees International, His Excellency Emeritus Dr. Gilbert Bukenya, former Vice President, Next Subsidiary and Ventures, Crest Tank Limited, UPDF Wazalendo Sacco, BV General Enterprises Limited, Pamoja Peace and Love Foundation, Movid Products Limited, Presidential Initiative on Banana Industry Development, National Water and Sewerage Corporation, and Dr. Agarwal. Chief guest, sir, this time around, UPDF particularly welcomes the corporate world so that they can attend the national launch and see for themselves the need of joining us in supporting Wananchi on this important Defense Forces Week and Tarehe Sita, where we give back to our strategic partners. At an opportune moment, sir, I request that the partners feel free to communicate to the chairman of the Defense Organizing Committee, who is none other than the Chief of Joint Staff of the UPDF, their thoughts. However, I have been reliably informed that some have already started communicating. As I conclude, sir, Chief Guest and distinguished guests, as for the media fraternity, we interest you to publicize our activities, and of which are obviously civil military relationship in nature, in a professional manner. I'd like to end there and hand over back to the Master of Ceremonies. I end my case. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Afande. And I got a cheat from the corporate side that in relation to the communication, there are those that wish to make some announcement. Can somebody please pass the microphone? Please pass the microphone. The corporate, some people want to make some announcements. See, the hand is the other side. See the hand.
Thank you, MC. I'm Canon Dr. Biabachija. I'm the Commissioner General of Prisons. And I want to thank the organizing committee for inviting me here. Prison is also going to make a small contribution. Not because I come from Kigezi, but I think it is the right thing to do. We are going to fence Health Center 3 in Yakshen. Yakshen because I come from Yakshen. General Masco, they sent me the estimates. It is a modest 87 million shillings. It is a single chain link fence, but with a brickwork foundation and the unappreciable gate. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much for that contribution, Afande.
Just one caution, I forgot. You all know what I do. And I have no reservations, especially when I receive generals. Thank you very much for me.
Thank you so much, Afande, Commissioner of Prisons. We give a round of applause to Afande Johnson Bawasaija for that contribution. Next, we have...
Thank you, the chief guest, the generals, senior officers, all guests present as protocol has been established. My name is Don Wanyama. I'm the CEO of the Vision Group. It's a pleasure being here. And we really congratulate the UPDF on these 45 years of great existence and of obviously securing our country. Like General Mugira mentioned, for us, the private sector has thrived largely because of what the UPDF has been able to do. We appreciate you. On behalf of the Vision Group, as you all know, we are a media company, the largest in the country, but we also have a publishing arm of the business, and we publish textbooks. So as part of our modest contribution to this 45th anniversary, we are going to donate assorted textbooks to the UPDF, which will then determine beneficiary schools. We are going to, in Kigezi sub-region, we are going to donate 100 copies of all-level textbooks, English language, math, biology, physics, chemistry, and all these, the 100, the worth is 2.5 million shillings. And we shall also donate 50 books for primary school worth 1 million shillings. Chief guest, I didn't want to keep this waiting, so I actually came with the books. They're here, and we shall hand them over. But Those of you from that part of the country, you also know that we have very influential media platforms, TV West and Radio West. We are putting these platforms at the service of the UPDF during this Tarehe Sita week. Kindly use those platforms, especially to mobilize the population to be a part of the activities. Thank you.
Yes, Chief Guest, all protocol observed. I am Engineer Edmund Okaranon, Senior Director, Engineering Services, National Water and Sewerage Corporation, representing the Managing Director, National Water and Sewerage Corporation, Engineer Dr. Silva Mukisha. The board and the management has pledged to support the activities of Tarehe Sita for this year with a humble contribution of 15 million shillings, which will be forwarded to the organizing team. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Kalumba. I'm the Assistant Commissioner, Public and Corporate Affairs at Uganda Revenue Authority. I'm representing the Commissioner General at this auspicious event. As URA, we have pledged a humble 5 million shillings to the preparations. As I speak now, I was in touch with the finance person, and they are ready to deposit the money. The only issue is the account, and we shall handle with you, madam. Thank you so much.
The protocol observed, the senior officers. This is going to be our third engagement with the UPDF since the 42nd Tarehe Sita operations. And as environmentalists, we have been growing trees with UPDF. You must have seen UPDF actively engaging in environmental protection, in the barracks, and with the communities. So far, we have planted about 800,000 seedlings in the barracks, and uniquely for Chisoro or Chigezi region, we have restored about 7 hectares at the Kazogo Pocket Forest. So additionally, with the UPDF, as a Million Trees International Organization, we shall continue with the 200,000 assorted seedlings to be grown in the barracks and schools, those are fruits and indigenous trees. Additionally, I'm a medical doctor professionally. Therefore, we are offering more 10 boxes of antimalarials. We are offering 20 boxes of antibacterials, 20 boxes of painkillers, gloves, and syringes. We hope all of these help our communities in protecting the game. Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Jibril Semakula Omucha.
Right Honorable Prime Minister and all invited guests, protocol observed. My name is Engineer Tushabe. I represent Professor Muranga of Banana Industrial Development. She has been supporting UPDF with products, and right now she's in Brazil. She has instructed that when she comes back, she would like to get in touch with the leadership and gives her contribution in the form of Toke banana products. I came with ambassador of Toke here. I think let him also give a word.
Guest of honor, like Director General Presidential Initiative always does, in all districts, she'll be willing to provide a Toke meal, breakfast, like she always does, and Toke products. And we are glad that these days she has made a specific meal for the UPDF as a fiber biscuit, which the UPDF fraternity will appreciate. And when she comes back immediately as an accounting officer, she says, like he has said, we'll bring that contribution of token products and also some other contribution which you would accompany her. Thank you so much.
My name is Mukodi Tuimbazi. I'm from Kisoro district, where our Tarehe is going to be celebrated. As a director, Nyanamu Community Conservation and Development Organization, we have already sorted 150,000 indigenous trees, including House of Akedo, plant in those schools that are selected in the Tarehe celebration. Thank you very much.
The hands are not loud enough. Asante sana. Thank you so much. One more, I think, or many more to come. We so much appreciate the support coming in.
Guest of honor, my name is Brigadier General Omure. I happen to be a Funansa man. I was invited. So because of time, I'm going to talk about Kigezi and then now about Kanungu. I happened to open a training camp in Kanungu at the home of our guest of honor. I trained some 300 Bachiga. So when I heard of Kanungu, and I happened to be the team that captured Kabale, I don't want to waste your time on that, but now I'm on Kanungu. The team should do something in Ki. Because that's where I train people there. 200, 300. Honorable guest of honor, there's a school after you are home, that training center to Rukunjiri, Kambuga Hospital. There's a primary school after the training center. Something should be done to remember the force that built from NASA came from there. Then another force, something should be done near Ishasa Custom. Those are very useful citizens. They did a good job for us. I got them hiding one RDC who was a Muteso, called Oriono Atipo, from being killed. I think Oriono now is office the prime minister. If not, he has retired. Then for Bachiga, who are of Rukunjiri, I found that a video in the RDC, Okelo not to be killed by Uganda Army. So I must thank people for Kigezi. Greeting from Lango. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
I'm called Major General Kashaka. I'm retired. I was recruited by the one who was holding this microphone into Fronasa in 1979. He was together with the late Chef Popeno. Currently, I live and I'm also in that region. So I was recruited around Riantonde area. Then I trained in Kakoba. We were training for 2 weeks. I was in Pakwach when the government of Idi Amin were fighting fair. I'm contributing therefore to this effort. I'm contributing 2 bulls and I will transport them.
Thank you so much, Afande. Round of applause.
Our guest of honor and the gathering at large. Samuel Davis wanted near blood collection team. We've come a team from Uganda Blood Transfusion Services. We are humbled and profoundly grateful for UPDF being our one of the greatest partners in this country. You've contributed to life, and as we've appreciated stated that all literature about blind life.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the contribution. I see one more hand there.
Thank you very much, Chief Guest. My name is Jonathan Ekochu. I work as the Senior Public Relations Officer at Uganda Electricity Transmission Company Limited. For this very important course, Uganda Electricity Transmission Company, other than the usual provision of the reliable quality high voltage power in the Kigezi region, where we recently established a new substation to ensure that there's reliable quality power in the area. On behalf of the CEO of Uganda Electricity Transmission Company, I've been informed that UETCL will get in touch with the organizing committee in a few days and will announce a contribution, but we shall be part of this noble cause. Thank you.
Asante sana. Can we give now a very big one? Asante sana. Yongeza tena. Thank you so much for all the contributions. You can see as we celebrate this 45th Tarehe Sita, we realize that we are moving all together as well with the corporates, the security forces, and the general population. Next in the agenda now, I would like to invite Dr. Ezra to come and give keynote address, but as he comes, I would like to recognize all in his categories, the senior statesmen who are here. All the senior statesmen, we have Honorable Dr. Perez Ahebwa, the senior statesman. Thank you for coming. We have Honorable Nsaba Buturo, he has always been with us. Thank you so much. We have Professor Rotanga. Professor Rotanga, thank you so much. So at this juncture, may I invite you, sir, to come and give the keynote address for the 45th Tarehe Sita launch.
Thank you very much, MC. Our chief guest, Honorable Amama Mbabazi, honorable ministers, honorable members of parliament, senior staff of defense forces, UPDF, Kigezi elders who are here, who have come, and leaders, members of the clergy, and religious leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Allow me to ride on the protocol in the interest of time. I'm very grateful to be invited to participate in this program. I wasn't sure what qualifications I have to be here, but I believe the main reason for inviting me is coming from Kigezi, yes, being born in Kigezi and also being a fairly senior citizen. You're talking about Tarehe Sita, by way of introduction. When Idi Amin was overthrown in 1979, I was in exile in America, and when he was overthrown, I came back and resumed teaching at Makerere as a senior lecturer, but things were not going right. There was a lot of violence, people were getting killed, the economy was totally broken down, and together with a few friends, we got together and formed the Uganda National Movement at Makerere, and were later invited by Honorable Museveni, who was then deputy chairman of the Military Commission, which was governing Uganda. And we met, I remember Honorable Mbabazi was there, and Honorable Gunda, and some others, and decided to form Uganda Patriotic Movement. And we campaigned for the elections in December 1980. And only one of us, Honorable Chionga, got through. But we had, during the campaign, we had promised that if the elections were rigged, we would go to the bush. At least that's what I heard some of my colleagues saying, but saying it publicly. And when Major, I don't remember what his rank was, Mwanga mentioned on TV publicly after the election, December 10th, that only he would announce the results of the elections. He was taking over all the powers of the Electoral Commission, and reverse, where UPC had been winning, sorry, DP and other parties had been winning, were reversed, and UPC won. Then, before I knew it, I heard that UPM had attacked Kawamba. I had gone back to teaching. I said, for me, that's the end of politics. Let me go back to economics. But it was only a few weeks later, I think 2 weeks, that they came for me. The military came for me in Makerere. I happened to be a believer in God. When they banged my door, I prepared for the worst. But I heard a voice, sounded like a student's voice, say that he's not there, he has gone to the office. And I saw them turn around and go back to their truck. And I was able to escape and run away back into exile until 1985, when the government of Obote was overthrown and I was able to come back to Uganda. So the topic, so I celebrate the victory of UPDF, because without that victory, I would not have been able to come back to Uganda. And I thank God, by the time the victory came, believe me, when you're living in exile, it can be bad. It was a great relief to be able to return. Thank you very much, all the fighters, for making it possible for us to return to our country. The topic which was given to me, I amended it a little bit, but I've said selected comments on the socio-economic and political transformation story of Kigezi from independence up to the present. This is a big topic, so that's why I've said selected comments, so that don't take, I know there are many professors here, don't take me too seriously. I'm just making some comments. And a brief outline, some demographics, especially for those who may not be from Kigezi, a brief historical overview, the economic evolution of Kigezi, transformative economic achievements in Kigezi, and major economic challenges facing Kigezi economy and the way forward. This is the detailed. We go to the next one. So the demographics of Kigezi, I thought that for everybody's sake, to be sure that we know where we are, you look at the map, the farthest southwest, in, I don't know if that's green, yellow, that is Kigezi. That's where we are. Later on, we'll talk about the size and population. And the 6 districts, the biggest being Rukunjiri and Kanungu, and the others are smaller, both in size. The biggest in population is Soro, and those are the 6 districts. The areas, as I said, biggest Rukunjiri and Kanungu, Rwanda, 3rd, Kisoro, Kabale, Ruchiga, at a total of 5,000 square kilometers. I calculated if you divide by 240,000 square meters, kilometers of Uganda, this comes to roughly about 2% of the area. But when I calculated the population, I found we are about 4% of the population. So there is a bit of density of the population, as you can see. In 1969, that's the earliest figures I could find. where the population of the Kigezi was about 650,000, and now in the 2024 census, it's about 1.8 million people. The average household in Kigezi, I was a bit surprised, it's only 4. The average for the country used to be 5, but seems to have gone down. Even Kigezi has come down. The density, people per square kilometer, 336. Compare that to the national population density of 224. So you can see that the density of population in Kigezi is quite high. And the number of households in Kigezi is 300, almost 400,000 households, or homes, if you like. Now, Kigezi is a mountainous terrain. It looks beautiful, but the beauty comes with a price. We have to go up and down those mountains to cultivate, to carry water, to get firewood. It's quite a difficult terrain. Please bear that in mind. Every time you think about Kigezi, when you see us being tenacious and so on, it's because we have to really suffer with that terrain. The land scarcity and harsh terrain have led to migration. The census 2024 is putting Bachiga at almost 3 million, but the population of Kigezi, with all the other tribes, Fumbira, Hororo, is 1.8 million. So you have a difference of 1.1 million, almost 1.2 million, meaning about 40% of the Bachiga are living outside Kigezi. And I think the figure is actually bigger than that, but I simply took that 1.16 as a percent of 2.94. But when you remove the Bafumbira and so on, then the Bachiga who are outside are even more. And I wasn't able to get the figures of the other areas who are outside, the other tribes who are outside Kigezi. So the migration has been a historic aspect of Kigezi. I remember in 1953, I was, I think, in P2, and the Rore came. It was my first time to see a Rore. We call it a Rore, or we call it a truck, coming to take people, I think, to Toro or somewhere, and they took families, and that was it. So it started a long time ago, and has been going on, and it's continuing. Now, part 2 of my remarks, a brief historical overview of, I think I better stand here, I can see better. A brief historical overview of Kigezi economic and political revolution. I'm now trying to kind of jumping forward. Historically, Kigezi had little in the form of cash crops. But during the 1970s, Idi Amin became very, very strict on coffee exports. it was, as you know, or may not know, a crime for a Ugandan to hold foreign exchange. This continued until NRM came into power. And coffee was strictly to be exported by a coffee marketing board. And the price that was paid to coffee farmers was determined by the coffee marketing board. So what happened was that people started finding a way to get over these restrictions on coffee trade and monopoly of government on coffee exports. So it so happened that Kigezi, or Kabale in particular, became a convenient way, or perhaps the most feasible way, for Uganda coffee to be smuggled to Rwanda, where the smugglers would be paid in dollars, and they would be able to come back and do whatever they could with them. If you had dollars, you were a king. You had a lot of power. And so the people of Kabale in particular became rich. We started to see buildings going up where the rest of Uganda was collapsing under the regime of Idi Amin with the expulsion of Indians and so on. In Kigezi, we saw some emerging of really rich people putting up big buildings because of this coffee smuggling, or so-called magendo. And for me, I want to use it as one instance that illustrates how Kigezi has been slowly become integrated into the Ugandan economy. Initially, you could say it was a bit isolated. Getting there was difficult. The roads were maram, at least partly maram. But over time, Kigezi has become more and more integrated into Ugandan economy. The second point I want to make on the socio-economic evolution and political evolution regards the impact of East African revival on character and education. When I was in primary school in the 50s, even in the 60s, there were like one or two graduates. I remember Vikangaka, and I'm not sure whether Wamafa had a degree or not, but you could count on your fingers the number of people who had gone out of Kaba or Kigezi and come and got an education, and they were held in very, very high regard. They were like gods. In fact, my father told me, he was a catechist, he said he prayed to God to make him as clever as Vikangaga. And God said no. And he said, you will not become as clever as Vikangaga, but he said, one of your sons will teach Uganda. And this has become true by the grace of God. So the point about the East African revival, which we are celebrating recently in August, is the exposure to education and, I believe, impact on the character of the people of Kigezi, honesty, dependability, and so on. I hope you agree with that. The religion, however, became a problem of conflict between Catholics and Protestants. When the politics came in the East in the 60s, the conflict was very, very severe. It was almost a matter of life and death on who should go to parliament, on who should be the head of the district. It was strictly on you voted according to your religion. But I'm happy to say that religion is still there, but I believe there is a toning down to a more peaceful competition. But because before you're talking about people going and defecating in churches and things like that, and cutting people's matoke down, and it was very, very serious. Now, I already talked about the mountains. The implication of the mountainous terrain is land scarcity and long travels. When I was in primary school, at one time I stayed with my grandmother. She would leave at 5 a.m. in the morning and come back at 9 o'clock at night because she had to go so very far away, up and down the mountains, to reach the land where she was cultivating. But not only that, but also the land fragmentation. Yes, is characterized by land fragmentation. The pieces of land are small, so the economics becomes difficult. You have to go very far to cultivate, and then you have to carry the food back. And I remember one time I was carrying Irish potatoes on my head, a basket, going downhill, and my knees started paining. I felt a lot of pain in my knees going down the hill. And I prayed. I said, Lord, this is very painful. Help me so that I don't have to live this kind of life as a farmer. And believe me, God heard my prayers. But there are many who are still engaged in that pain, going up and down the mountains, carrying very heavy loads, carrying water and so on. So the mountainous terrain, the scarcity of land, that also explains the big migration out of Kigezi. So of course it implies subsistence farming where people just grow enough food to eat. I've already talked about land fragmentation. And food, number 4, food insecurity. In the early days, you'd always try to be sure that you have a garden of potatoes to go through the year. It was a staple. A bit of maize, and of course beans, peas, millet, and sorghum. You dry these and have I forget what is in English, a chitara, where you, granary, where you keep these for food security. These days, it seems granaries have become rare, and the food insecurity, as we shall soon see, is increasing. Small livestock, mainly for bride price. You keep 1 or 2 cows, usually not for eating or milk, but mainly for bride price. Because when I was growing up, we had to give 2 cows and 1 bull in order to get a wife. So people tried to have that minimum. If you couldn't, then you had to migrate. You had to go to Uganda to work, or to Toro, or wherever, so that you earn enough money to come and buy the animals needed for you to get married. Now, continuing with the typical guest household economic life, the cash crops, as I said, were few. At one time, we had people growing black water, bricoti. And we're told that it was used for making, we're exporting it for making presumably medicine for malaria, but later on it seems it was for making tannin or something for leather making, and also apparently it's a medicine for diarrhea and so on. So we had a few cash crops, and of course people would 72%. This is the current census. This is good news, especially when you consider the difficulties we have in reaching water, going down the mountains and so on. And for this, we have drug, they didn't find any. You know, I didn't know what to do, but they didn't. They gave me my money back and left. But I was told that General Sijiri, who is on the opposite hill from me, that for him he found water. I need to find out from him how he managed to do it. But I'm just illustrating that water in Kigezi is difficult, and people who live up in the mountains suffer. And so UPDF, when you are considering some of the projects you can do, keep us in mind in the future. This could be one area. If you had a water drilling wing where you could say, oh, we went such and such a parish and we're able to reach water. Now the people don't have to walk 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers down the hill, fetch water and then carry that water up the hill. It's a very harsh reality. Transformative economic achievements in Kigezi, infrastructure progress, the Northern Corridor, that's the one runs from Mombasa all the way to Katuna. I don't know if Soro is also considered a part of it, I'm not sure. But I would like to really say that without the Northern Corridor, Kigezi would hardly be a part of Uganda and of East Africa with the access. When I became Minister of Finance, or before that, in the 80s, I remember 87, we went to bury late Honorable Wamafa and took 2 days to go and 2 days to come back. That's how bad the road was. And by the time I came back, I was still a young man, but my back was hurting so much, I made a decision I would not go back until the road was done. That's how bad it was. But thank God it has been done. When I became Minister of Finance in 2005, I found there was 100 million euros that the European Union had given Uganda as a grant for the Kampala-Masaka portion of the Northern Corridor. So I said, but why is this money sitting here when the corridor is impassable? They said there was a conditionality that in order to touch the money, we had to pass a law in Parliament to create road finance or something like that. I don't remember the exact name of the act. And I talked to my colleague in Kenya. We happened to have a conversation. I told him the difficulty I was having. He said, for us in Kenya, we don't allow foreign funding to stop our infrastructure. We do it ourselves. And I changed, and we allocated money from our own budget, and we did the Northern Corridor. And later on, those who came after me continued. So it's still a long road, over 400 kilometers from Kampala to Kabale, but it is manageable. We don't hurt so much. So that corridor is, in my view, the maintenance of that corridor. Later on, we had to do the Mbarara portion and so on. There are some portions which are not so good, but by and large, the access of Kigezi to the rest of the country is, in my opinion, one of the really important aspects of integrating that part which is so far away in the west to the rest of the country. And of course, also reaching Rwanda and Congo. Kabale Soro Tamak is another landmark which has been done by the NRM administration. It's a very, very important road. And of course, Ntungamoro, Kunjiri, Shakat, these are important parts of roads in Kigezi, and there may be others that I haven't mentioned, but an effort has been made to improve infrastructure in Kigezi. There has been an increase in cash crops. Tea has been introduced. I've been criticized for introducing tea in Kigezi. They said, how could you introduce tea in Kigezi when they don't have land? But I did not force anyone to grow tea. We just said, yeah, seedlings. The president asked me if, no, he wrote to me directing me, provide money for Mweju to set up a tea factory. I went to Mweju. I found Mweju is the same as Kigezi. In fact, worse in terms of getting there, the cow were getting stuck. I said, and the land ownership, average land ownership is the same as Kigezi. I said, now if we can have a cash crop, when their terrain is like this, why not Kabale? So I went to Kabale and called the people together, and we moved, we introduced tea. Now we even have a tea factory. It's unfortunate that prices have collapsed, but prices always go up and down. So I would say let's not be discouraged. Let us move on. And similarly, when I was in Prime Minister's office, I was heading the service delivery unit, PDM, and we were in charge of the coffee effort. The president had directed us to increase coffee in Uganda to 20 million bags. And I said, Kabale, also you can grow coffee, you can grow Arabica. If Bugishi can grow Arabica, why not Kabale? I'm growing, even I came here with I drink my own coffee. The coffee is growing, and some people have taken it up. I hope that slowly we shall be able to form a cooperative and have a brand. I think the people in Kisoro are ahead of us. I think for them, they already have a brand, and they're exporting at a high price. Congratulations, the people of Kisoro. Well done. So there are other, potatoes have also become a cash crop, sorghum, honey, pineapples, onions. So there is an increase in the number of cash crops and income from cash crops. Tourism, AI said there are over 10,000 jobs. I'm not sure, but with AI, but maybe they're approximately right. There's no doubt that tourism has grown, and it provides jobs and incomes for the people of the region. Transformative economic achievements, fundamental institutions and organizations, educational institutions, financial institutions, health institutions, corporate institutions, religious institutions. Why does it matter? if you don't have universities, if you don't have schools, if you don't have churches, what do you have? Sometimes, brothers and sisters, we underestimate the importance of institutions. Maybe it's with English language. I'm talking about organization. Are we organized so that we can produce a product or a service? So I'm happy to say that there has been, now there are 4 universities in Kigezi, as far as I am aware, at least 4. The financial institutions, SACCOs, yes, which are our own, but banks are still foreign. And our attempt with Honorable Mbaba's here to form our own bank, this Bank of Commerce, did not succeed. It was closed, thanks to Bank of Uganda, where I used to be deputy governor, but they don't remember me. Health institutions, there's an increase in both private and public clinics down to the parish level. Corporate institutions, trade. Of course, trade now is in the hands of Ugandans, maybe 95, maybe more percent. When I was in Kigezi High School in the 1960 and 61, all the shops were Indian-owned. There were a few, there was an African part, very small, where Africans could also have shops. But the rest of the city, of the town, was Indian-dominated. That has changed. Now, there are very few Indians, and majority of the traders in Kabale, and I think Sora and other Rukunjiri, they are Africans. So, this is not a small thing. I know you don't like to clap for Amin, but the trade of Uganda is in African hands. Maybe not everywhere, but in most of the cities. Banks, we have work to do. Corporate institutions, yes. Cooperatives, Kigezi, like other parts of Uganda, suffered during the structural reform of the World Bank in the, I think, 1987. So it's a difficult climb to get the cooperatives back, but we need them because there are very few things which households can do on their own. The parish model, in my view, should not only encourage household income, but also cooperative organization as we have increasing incomes. Religious institutions, freedom of worship. We should never take that for granted. We should thank God that we have freedom of worship under the NRM administration. Now, I'm coming to the end now. Major economic challenges facing Kigezi economy. First, youth unemployment. I call youth employment to be positive, but it's a challenge. Domestic iron and steel processing, food security, storage and agro-processing, the need for perennial crop income, more perennial crop income, coffee, tea, avocado, bananas, etc., tourism, road infrastructure, Lake Bunyonyi, Windi, Muhavura roads, I think they are now being worked on, and the imperative for social action. I try to be quick, I know it's lunchtime. Employment, friends, especially for young people, is a problem. In international standard, according to UBOS, youth not in employment, not in education, or training. So they are not working, they are not training, but yeah, they're just there. But yeah, it comes to 31% of the youth between 31 and 24. The new boss did it also in the, what they call the national context. But for them, they did those between 18 and 30 years. Youth not in employment, education or training came to 39%. That's a large number. That's a high level of unemployment, and we need to find a solution to this problem. Iron and steel processing, high-grade hematite ore prospects in southwestern Uganda have known grades ranging from 55%, 68% iron ore content with an exploration target estimated at over 500 million tons. Other iron ore reserve estimates have been as high as 5 billion tons. What is the point? The point is that iron ore is more valuable than gold. Kigezi has iron ore of very, very high iron content, probably the highest in the world. The one in the east, in Sukuru and so on, is much lower grade, and of course, the reserves are much smaller. So, in my opinion, all the leaders of Kigezi are here, all of us. I was talking to Madame PS here when I came in, and she was telling me how the resources being ferried and people are spoiling the environment. But I think that these resources, once they are taken, they cannot be replaced. And we need to figure out a way of making sure that the revenues from these resources benefit all the people of Kigezi and all the people of Uganda. And they're not just being ferried away almost for nothing. I see huge trucks coming night and day. They wake me up in the night, they're piling and up and down, and I wonder, where is all this iron ore going? Is it all going to Busoga for Tembo, or is it some of it going out? I don't know. I know the president has said that we should not export iron ore and other raw materials. But I am throwing it as a challenge to all of us, young and old, that this is a very important resource. Making steel is critical to any economy, every economy, whether it is armaments, whether it is trucks, whether it is vehicles, whatever construction, you need steel, and it's a fundamental requirement of every economy. The key obstacles to Kigezi processing were lack of land. You need about 1,000 acres for a steel plant. We lack coal or natural gas for reducing agent, and of course we lack capital. So there is a need for public-private partnership in order to solve this problem. But in my view, this is a key resource for Kigezi. Food security could be a part of the PDM strategy to encourage cooperative food stores and to offset food shortages, especially due to climate change. I think this is important. Increases in incomes from perennial crops, I already talked about this. I think it's self-evident. Tourism, again, the roads, some work has started on Lake Bunyonyi, and I think Bwindi and Amhavura, Gorillas, and other wild parks. I hope that the work will continue and the roads will be completed. It's very important because they bring jobs to our area and incomes. Finally, the urgent call for social protection, preparing for Judgment Day. I'm taking it from Matthew 25, 31 and 46. It says, when the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. That is the essence of social protection. Social protection is a covenant or contract between a society and each and every citizen to ensure, one, access to a basic human standard of food, shelter, healthcare, clothing, and security. Access to a basic human standard. Two, to ensure work and income for every able-bodied adult. Employment. Three, it defines and provides minimum income for the physically and mentally disabled. So you don't disregard people who are mad or disabled and say, let them look after themselves. Four, it protects human dignity for every citizen. Dr. Speciosa Kazibwe, when she was vice president, asked me to write a paper on social security, and I had to visit some countries to find out what social security is about. Among them, I went to Germany, and the German director of social security told me that for them, they have decided that no German citizen should live in a subhuman state. Subhuman means less than human. No German citizen should be allowed to fall into a less than human state. It's a challenge to all of us. Some of our people are living in a subhuman state. We have made progress, yes, but as we saw, food insecurity is still high, and so sanitation is still a problem, and so on and so forth. So we need to work towards setting a standard, not only for Giz, but for the whole of Uganda, that there is a contract between every citizen and his society that will not be allowed to fall into a subhuman state. I'm throwing it to you as a challenge. If you want to know more about it, kindly read my book on advancing the Ugandan economy. I have a long chapter that came from that work that Dr. Kazibwe asked me to do. And we should all come together and champion a society with social protection for every citizen. So far, tens of thousands of Kigez households fall below the minimum human standard. Where will the money come from for social protection? When we ensure that everybody, the adult, is working, there will be enough production of every product to meet the minimum standard of living. Money will only be a means to distribute what is being produced. In economics, we call it money illusion. And yet, we have been through it. In 1987, everybody had money. Everybody was working with a bag full of money. Everyone. But there was nothing to buy. Because all you have a Bank of Uganda has to do is print money. It's not expensive. I used to chair the committee for printing money. You can print 100,000 for the same price as printing 1,000. No problem. You can even print 1 million if you like. But if there is no production going on, it is useless and worthless. So putting money first instead of putting production first is a fundamental error which we need to get out of our heads. We have been brainwashed that money is the problem. Money is not the problem. Organization is the problem. How we organize ourselves so that we can even exchange without using currency. If we have a place where I bring something and I'm recorded and given credit, and somebody brings it when they're given credit, I use that credit to get what I need from the store. I don't have to have money. It's an illusion that is oppressing us, and we need to get out of it. So, Kigezi, I'm concluding. Socio-political integration. General Masco had already pointed out some of the prominent people from Kigezi. We have had 2 prime ministers. One of them is here. We've had many ministers. Some of them are here. We've had governors, generals, professors, entrepreneurs, bishops, technocrats. So, unlike the 1960s when I was in primary school and secondary school, now we even have professors. So there has been a great progression, in my opinion. Kigezi has become more and more integrated and incorporated into Uganda. And as a result, it has prospered. Conclusion, Kigezi's peace and prosperity require A, full national integration, B, full national participation, and C, continuing consolidation into Uganda's national economy and politics. Thank you very much for listening to me.
May we all rise and give a round of applause. With your permission, our chief guest, may I request that you can stretch a bit? We have the Deputy Commander of Air Forces around here, so we are flying in his area. We have his Chief of Staff, Afande Gonyi. We are flying the Commander Land Force. We are stepping on your land. The division commanders are here. Thank you so much. We can have a seat. And then we proceed now to the next in our program. At this juncture, I will invite Afande Deputy Chief of Defense Forces to come and give his remarks. And thereafter, he invites our host Minister for Defense, who will in turn invite our chief guest. Karibu sana Afande.
Our chief guest, Right Honorable Prime Minister Emeritus, allow me to ride on existing protocol so that we may save time. I'm Lieutenant General Samo Kidin, the Deputy Chief of Defense Forces. I'm here to represent the CDF. Our chief guest, allow
allow me add my voice to thank and welcome all the invited guests for joining us in gracing this occasion here at Modivad headquarters. Two concerns, but light ones. My brother, the Chief of Joint Staff, I think we need to seek for the advice of legal services. Since you did not pass out, you might be still counted as a recruit. We shall handle that. The second one goes to my brother, Dr. Bakasaija, the Commissioner General of Prison Services. We are happy that you are there. And in case anything happens of that nature, my prayer is that let the treatment be based on the bond we have already established. Our chief guest and invited guests, I will not take much time, but I want to say each time we celebrate Tarehe Sita, we are celebrating a foundation on which all achievements in this country are anchored on. It's a foundation which carries all the successes. Even what Professor Surum has just presented, it's based on that. We celebrate the capacity and the capability of UPDF. We celebrate the bravery, the resilience, the strengths, development and growth of our country, and finally, the national cohesion. This one has spoken loudly through the contributions by the corporate world, corporate class. It is not true that everybody sees this, no. In society, the way they teach us, our chief guest, we the people of uniform, society is categorized in three. There are those who belong in the top 20%. There are those who belong to middle 60%. And there are those who fall down, the bottom 20%. So we have to struggle with the bottom 20% because they are our people, we cannot discard them. We cannot even tell God that kill them and so that we stay in peace. No. We have to be here with them. Now, basing on that, those achievements, that's why the future of this country was secured. And today, we are saying, let's protect the gains. But as I have said, there are those who say they don't see the gains. There are even those who say there is no future to secure. They talked. But we don't need to go against God. Those who say there are no gains to protect, that is even biblical. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 8. Let me read from the version I have. It reads, I read. Lead out those who have eyes but are blind, who have the ears but are deaf. So when someone says there are no gains to protect, it is therefore our role to preach the gospel. Where they don't see, we show them that it is here. One of them is here. The professor has even preached a very good gospel. He concluded two minutes ago. But that character is not here. I mean, the category is not here. Those who say they don't know. Unfortunately, they are not here. If they were here, I would have explained to them. And those who don't have eyes, don't have ears, we can communicate. They have ears, but they can't hear. We can use body language, this one, and say, okay, they will understand. Our chief guest, I want to thank the family you left here. You were once here. You led us properly. You planted pumpkin, which you didn't approve, and that's why you are here. In the same vein, Afande Katumba did so. Afande David Mose did the same thing. Afande Musanyifu, Afande Kale, Eura, all those who retired, although they look very young. I asked, what is the secret behind? They told me that they have survived one question, which is mostly asked in Mboya. The question is, hello, where are you? Where you go up? So these days, that question is not there. Our chief guest has said, I know time has gone, sugar levels are affected. I want once again to thank all of you for coming, and I pray for journey mercies. May God bless all of us. At this time, may I take this opportunity to invite the host minister to come and talk to you. Asante sana, Honorable Karibuni.
Right Honorable Amama Mbabas, the Prime Minister of Uganda Emeritus, colleague ministers, the colleague members of Parliament, the members of Parliament on Defense and Internal Affairs Committee, the members of Parliament from Kigezi region, the Deputy CDF, the heads of cooperative and business community present here, the district leaders from Kigezi sub-region, senior MDA officials, the generals present, senior officers and militants of UPDF, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. our dear chief guest, Right Honorable Mama Mbabas, and all the invited guests, on behalf of the Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs and the Uganda People's Defense Forces Fraternity, it is with great honor that I welcome you to the official launch of the 45th Tarehe Sita anniversary. For this 45th Tarehe Sita celebration, we will highlight the historical significance of Kigezi region, which has already been done, particularly its association with the Freness activities. Notable Kabale district played a crucial role in the early efforts of the revolution struggle. The region was historically linked to Frenessa and served as a base for Frenessa supporters, including notably the likes of Right Honorable Ruhakana Rugunda, the Right Honorable Amama Mbabazi, our chief guest here, and include many others who have passed on. As you may already be aware, this launch will culminate into landmark national celebrations on 6th February 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme for the 45th Tarehe Sita celebration is defending the gains of the revolution and honoring the sacrifice of the freedom fighters, a call for a national unity, peace, and socio-economic transformation. I think at the Hills here, we sat down and really think about this theme, and we think it fits well for this year. We acknowledge the exceptional contributions of the patriots from Kigezi sub-region towards the epic struggle by the Frenessa and subsequently NRA and UPDF. The 45th Tarehe Sita celebrations and associated activities to be held on the 6 districts during this period will be with a series of activities that will have a quick impact construction projects. We will have the medical outreach programs. We shall have the donations, and I want to take this opportunity to thank our cooperative heads here who have been able to add more on what we had planned. Thank you very much for that kind contribution. With these activities, we remember and appreciate the people-based support which has enabled UPDF NRA to register a remarkable success which culminated in the final defeat of the dictatorships that oppressed the people they were meant to protect and lead towards prosperity. Professor, why we did not clap when you talked about the economy now remaining in our hands was because we realized the negative impact of the president of that time were more than one positive thing of putting the economy in our hand. That's why you see we're a bit cool. Because when you see 90% or 95% compared with the 5%, then you come a bit reluctant to appreciate. Not that what you are saying was not the right thing, but we are just trying to compare the positives and negatives. That's why we're a bit cool. The UPDF uses the opportunity of the Defense Forces Week activities to appreciate the contribution of the Wananchi and renew its commitment to defend and protect the people and the country through interacting with the public, including the veterans who contributed to the political freedom enjoyed today across the country. The January 1986 takeover of government by NRM led to a fundamental change that has provided a conducive political climate for democratic institutions to thrive and is enabling economic transformation to occur. An example is the formation of the 1995 legitimate constitution, under which the NRA became the UPDF, the People's Army. Thanks to the enabling environment led by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, Ugandans are decisively marching towards economic transformation as per Vision 2040, as implemented in the 5 years, the National Development Plan. Additionally, efforts crucial for the prosperity and the security of the people include the regional continental economic integration to ensure a larger and a viable African market and a political freedom to guarantee the strategic security of Uganda and Africa against recolonization, and that is the importance of those who sacrificed for us like 40 years to come. Those who were speaking here, the general once said he was going to tell us what he saw. Then there was one who was telling us how the economy had collapsed and how they were just sleeping in Lake Victoria to see that we tried to revive the economy which had collapsed. Our chief guest, before I invite you, I also want to share a small story for me being as a refugee. For us, we were in South Sudan. We went to South Sudan when I was 5 years. But there are some things I also saw. I think I will not forget them until God calls me. Therefore, I want to thank the revolutionaries for bringing us back. And I think our key, not dresser professor, for you, you were a bit lucky. You were a refugee, but in a developed country. I think that's somehow fair. And I know there are also some refugees some people here who were refugees in undeveloped countries, but at least they were staying in cities. Like if you are staying in Dar es Salaam, if you are staying in Nairobi, you might be better than Oleru Huda, who was staying in a place called Tarehe in South Sudan. When we were there, and I also want, in fact, to appreciate our government and UN. Right now, where I come from, we are hosting refugees. Our brothers who hosted us, now we are hosting them. But before, they were there. They were prepared. Their place was cleared very well. Sanitary facilities were put on place. Tents were established everywhere. So when they reached, for them at least they were, in fact, at home. But for us, when we went to Sudan, and a place called Tarehe, and a transit called, it's painful. That's not the day we are here to celebrate. One of the things that I cannot forget was there were some ant hills, but people ate all those ant hills. Everyone would go and just get a portion and eat. Ant hills. Yes, the soil, that's it. And when now it comes up, the ants build it and it become their what? A home, maybe their homes, the ant hills. All of them were eaten. One, because people were hungry. Two, maybe it was a miracle from God. It was a food. How do the people know that we can eat this thing to survive on? And we would all line up to go and get a piece and we would eat it. Two, every day, every homestead would go and bury. It reached to the extent that if you are only two in your house, it's two of you to go and open the grave and you bury. Why? Because there was outbreak of cholera and dysentery. So many of the West Nilers died there, other than died because of guns when they were forced away from their region here. But when they crossed, that is what killed them. I was 5 years, but I will not forget. So when time came that in 1986, the president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, went up river called Kaya and said, my people, you come back. They came back. They have settled. Now for more than 35 years, they are very happy, even if they are still poor. That is something we must celebrate. So I want to thank you, UPDF leadership, for annual organizing this Tarehe Sita, to make us to recall, to make us to remember where we came from, who we are, and where we want to be. And therefore, it is all our responsibility, leaders here, after this, go and talk to people. Our young people, the child I've given birth to, doesn't know what we are talking about here. That's why they are saying, what are the gains that we are protecting? That's why they are saying, what are we securing? We must tell them it's a serious issue, that they must know what it is. We thank you who have really sacrificed. You have given us the opportunity today to hold a microphone and have this platform to talk to you. You have done us well. Thank you very much. Right Honorable Prime Minister Emeritus, thank you very much for a shortest note for accepting to come here and be our chief guest. This is your home. You are back to your home, and your presence here lightened the whole of this function. I know you had a lot to do, but because you love us, you have heart for this country, you have managed to put everything aside, and you are here. Moreover, I had told you this is going to be a function of 20 minutes. My apology. Thank you very much. It's now my honor to take this time to invite you to come and address the gathering. You're welcome.
Now, the chief guest, Honorable former Prime
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? I don't. Not that loud. Thank you very much, the Honorable Minister. Honorable Ministers present. Honorable David is remaining, I think. Honorable members of Parliament, permanent secretaries, our keynote speaker, Honorable Ezra Sruma. The Chief of the Defense Forces, the representative of the evils that gave rise or gave birth to the National Resistance Army, now UPDF. And I'm really humbled to be the chief guest today, not only as a founder member of NRA, it is going to host all these activities this year. This is an honor I receive with gratitude, with pride, and reflection. So, let me say the obvious. What is Tarehe Sita?
Omuzadde alina omwana amaze siniya ey'okunooba ey'omukaaga ng'oyagala asome nga bw'akola ku ddala lya yunivasite ate ng'ali exposed. Spade Revolution Uganda Limited ebaleetedde universities ez'enjawulo okuva e India omuli Invertis University, Valtech University n'endala nnyingi ku tuition fees entono ddala nga ziva ku $9 oba $3,000,000 omwaka ate nga kwe kuli okulya, okusula, obujjanjabi n'okusoma okumala omwaka mulamba. Ate mu abaana temusobola okusoma n'abaana okuva mu nsi ez'enjawulo kikuyamba okukwatagana n'abantu ab'omugaso mu bulamu bwo.
Hi guys, Tarehe here. So finally reached our destination, Mattis University. 3 days in so far, still settling in. We are from Uganda. We are here at Invertis University in India, and we are trying to cope up with the situation, but hope all goes well. I encourage all of them to come and join us. Come and experience what we've experienced.
Balina courses eza technical, eza business, n'eza medical zonna omwana ze yeetaaga. Omuzadde n'omwana ayagala okumanya ebisingawo ku yunivasite ezo baba n'omusomo ku ofiisi zaabwe e Mengo, opposite Forfa House, buli Lwamukaaga ku ssaawa 4 ez'okumakya. Oba bakubire ku note 758 65 89 27.
The barracks, and we sent Akanga. Akanga was the young one. So Akanga went to deliver the message because we knew it was getting very close, because this general parade was a daily parade on the parade ground. And the assembly, I think, started at 6 a.m. every day. So we were now close to 6 a.m. We decided to send Akanga to go and get Kanyankore. We had people like Kanyankore in the barracks to deliver the message, because it was too late to actually bring them to me and Sam Makara. So Akanga went and didn't come back. 6 o'clock, no Akanga. 6:30, no Akanga. We were now in a panic. You can imagine, what would we report back? I don't know if you realize the meaning of failure at that stage. So we decided to take a risk. We drove to the barracks. There was I don't know if Kabamba changed. I was in Kabamba in charge of our from NASA forces when we integrated them into the new UNLA force. But I think there has a lot. I haven't been there in many years, so I suppose there has been a lot of change. But at that time, just outside the gate into the barracks, and not far from the armory that was talked about, which was underground, was the residence of officers. So we drove there, and we found officers who were not on duty. They had not gone for the parade. So we met them, Moguta, JJ Odon was a second lieutenant, and ask him next time you see him, his greatest contribution that day was to make porridge for me, and we had it for breakfast. And Sam Magara had been talking to Muguta and others, trying to find out where Akanga was. To cut a long story short, Akanga had been grabbed, because by the time he arrived, The parade was already on ground, and no one was supposed to be loitering around, and he had been ground by Tanzanians. So, through these officers, we managed to get Akanga released. He joined us in the car, and we drove off. And of course, the greatest question was, did you deliver the message? And he answered, yes. And we happily and comfortably came back to town, reported mission accomplished. And the next day, Kabamba was attacked. I think this is a story maybe many of you don't know or have not heard about. I'll tell you others, but today is late. So, on that 6th of February, as you know, a group of us, armed with 27 guns. You know, people say there were 27 fighters. No, that's not true. Actually, there were 44. I've heard the figure of 43. Actually, they were 44 with 27 guns, 27 rifles. That group, armed more with conviction than weapons, embarked on a struggle whose outcome no one could guarantee except through faith, discipline, and unity of purpose. From that struggle arose a people's army, an army built on the trust and support of the Wananchi. The UPDF's foundation was laid in that bond between the fighters and the civilians. Without the people, there would have been no NRA. And without the army, the people would not have secured peace. The military civil cooperation we celebrate today, I had come with a fairly long speech, given my knowledge and experience in all this, but obviously we don't have time for long speeches, but I hope you can invite me one day when we have the time to go through them, because I regret that we have been too busy with all sorts of things and we have never really told the full story. And the story cannot be full until you have heard the various stories from the many actors that contributed to this struggle. The military civil cooperation we celebrate today did not come by accident. It was deliberate. It was principled, and it remains essential. During the Bush War, as you all know, the people sheltered the fighters. They shared food with them. They treated their wounds, offered intelligence, and provided moral courage. In return, the fighters protected communities, respected them, and upheld strict discipline. This mutual respect became the core doctrine of the NRA, later UPDF, and it is gratifying to see I always remember to make this point to many. The UPDF participates in regional peace missions, protects our borders, and contributes to the stability of the Great Lakes region. But most importantly, it continues to serve the Ugandan people. So, as we look ahead to Tarehe Sita 2026 and beyond, the central message is clear. The strength of Uganda lies in the unity between its citizens and their armed forces. I always make the point, General Mujira made reference to the unit, the area that he superintends now. I always made the point that a country or a people that do not have the capacity to defend themselves cannot be free. You can't. A modern army must be technologically advanced, well-trained, and well-equipped. But it must also remain close to the people, guided by discipline, anchored in the values of the liberation struggle, and dedicated defending both sovereignty and human dignity. The UPDF has shown this throughout its operations, emergency responses, disaster relief, community work, and regional deployments. So allow me, therefore, to thank the Minister of Defense, of course, the Commander-in-Chief, the Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs, the UPDF leadership, officers, men, and auxiliary staff for staying true to the legacy of our struggle. I also thank the people of Kigezi, the 6 districts, for welcoming and supporting these activities. Your partnership with the UPDF is part of our shared history and our shared future. So, as we launch Tarehe Sita 2026, let us recommit ourselves to the ideals for which the struggle was fought: peace, unity, justice, and prosperity. Let the UPDF continue to be a force that people trust. Let the people continue to be, and let this celebration remind us that Uganda's greatest victories have always been achieved when the army and the civilians march together. One of our president's enduring teachings is that security is a product of both military strength. I'm glad that the speakers before me doctrine remains one of Uganda's greatest strategic assets. So, I want want to thank you all. And I look forward, I was eagerly waiting to hear what the launch entails.